Well, this life is really amazing. Have you ever stopped to think about the first time you realized that you were conscious, that you were awake and aware? How far back was that? Was maybe when you were 1 year old or 2 or a couple months? Well, I tell you what, I know it's hard to believe when you stop to think about it, what I'm going to tell you next. But in another way, it's not really. Talking about consciousness, the first time I remember being aware of myself was when I was being born. And I know where it was. I knew where I was coming to. It was a bedroom in the upstairs of my grandparents' house in Masontown, Pennsylvania. And you know, you hear all these people talking about near-death experiences and the tunnel with a light at the end. Well, that's what I saw being born. I remember a long tunnel or tube, and it was darker behind me and light out ahead. And I remember traveling through that tunnel, and I knew that there was a room full of people out there and light and love, and I wanted to be part of it. And I was kind of in a hurry to be born, to get out there. And I can remember that to this day, but I can't remember anything previous to it. Have you ever stopped to think that, well, what is a memory? That is what we are. We are a collection of memories and experiences and mistakes and successes. And there is a time when we started. A lot of what you'll hear me speak about here is based on the Bible, and I guess it's also based on the law of one. You know, I look at the Bible as the gospel, or the good news. That's what the gospel means. It just means the good news. And the Bible is the news for the people of this planet Earth. And everything has to have a beginning, start somewhere, and come in. It came in through. Now, a lot of us think that it came in through the Hebrew people. And we think of Jews and we think of Israel. But actually, when you look at the Holy Bible, we see that the first man who was called to understand the truth, and that's what he was called for, is to be given a message, and so it could be passed on. His name was Abram, or Abraham. Now, he was a Babylonian. There was no Israelites on the earth at that time. They were born way down the road much later. So God came to the Babylonians first, somebody that we would think of as a Gentile race. And Terah and Abram had departed from Babylon, went out into the plains of Mamre, where all this stuff started to happen. And he was visited by a god, Melchizedek, that in my studies I believe he is the one that also became Jesus Christ later on, because of so many different proofs right there that have just driven me to that point. I got to watch I don't digress and get off in different directions. But anyway, now arises today this law of one. And it appears to be a similar thing as the good news for Venus, a planet that is in the same solar system as we are. And it is their gospel. But a whole lot of people were running to it, and for some reason they feel they have to discard the good news that was given to the third planet from the sun and start following after the good news that was given to the second planet from the sun. However, can both of them be right? Yes, actually they are. Well, are they both different? Yes, that too. You know, I've noticed that there's this problem we human beings have. We read the Bible. We think everything in there is about us. And it's not. Everything in there is for us. It's for us to read and to understand and grow by, but it's not about us. Oh, I got to watch. I've got so much stuff in the back of my mind I'd like to bring out here. I just can't do it all at once, or it wouldn't make sense. You have to hear it little by little. Or as the prophet Isaiah said, here a little and there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept, unless we go forward and fall and be taken and snared and never come to the understanding of the truth. So we have to do it in a way that makes sense. And now we're on planet Earth, and if we start, leaving the good news that was given to us and start after the good news that was given to those people that lived on Venus, the law of one, we're actually not showing ignorance, but what we're doing is we're showing that, we're excited about God's truth, and it must be the same. It's the same God, and if He owns all of these unimaginable number of planets in this creation, He's the same God. They are different. But there's something significant that we need to understand right at this juncture. Well, there's a whole lot of books in the Bible. Old Covenant, New Covenant, Old Testament, New Testament. And there's a lot of genealogies in there. There's a lot of lessons in there. A lot of allegories and parables. And, sometimes we think maybe it's just too much for the average person, man or woman, to understand all that. And so we sit in services and we listen to someone speak and preach or teach to us because we don't think we're capable of doing it ourselves. And we want to hear what they got to say, and all we got to do is make a decision whether we want to be one of them believers or not. Listen, folks. Now, I know you probably don't know me, but I have been at this now for about 50 years. I'm 74 years old right now. And I got to tell you that it is really simplistic. Very simple. And here's the thing. In that book, the Bible, there is one man of, great significance. I'm not talking about Jesus Christ. I'm talking about the Apostle Paul. Oh my, what that man went through. And what an uphill battle he had to go to change the thinking of an entire religious system. And he tried it, but it's not time for that to happen, but it's getting closer. Now here's the thing what Paul said in Galatians. I believe it's around chapter 5 and verse 14. Concerning the law and the prophets, which is basically the old covenant, he said all the law is fulfilled in one word. Now listen, because I'm going to say the word here. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now that's the same thing that Jesus Christ said. He was asked before by the Pharisees of the Sanhedrin, tell us, teacher, which is the greatest commandment of all? Now, I don't know it if you know or not, but anyway, a side piece of information here is that those commandments were given by angels, not by God the Father that we may have thought did. But the Bible tells us in several places that they were administered by the hand of angels. And it's an attempt to make some kind of a basic physical do or don't law that ends up showing love. And that's what, Christ also said. Or was it Christ? Let's see. I can't remember. Sometimes I get Christ and Paul mixed up. But it was one of those two that said nothing entering a man can defile him. And when he says a man, he means a human being. A human, a woman or a man. Nothing entering them can defile them. Now just think about how wide sweeping that is. No thing, nothing can defile you by going into you, but what comes out of a man, that defiles him. Or it can defile him. So God is interested if we are expressing love and kindness and concern toward others. That tells what's inside of you, what comes out of you. Now, if nothing entering a person can defile them, that could be something material. It could be a false doctrine or a mistake. And here we got all these churches arguing with each other. You got the, all the different Protestant churches, and then the different religions: Buddha, Hindu, the Jewish religion, Muslims. And the bottom line of every one of them is that whole book that they have, and each one of those religions is trying to teach exactly the same thing. You are to love your neighbor as yourself, which Christ himself said is the second commandment. Because when they asked him what was the greatest of all the commandments, he said the first and the greatest is to love your God with all your heart and all your mind and all your soul. And the second is like unto it, to love your neighbor as yourself. So that one key word is love. Yes, that is a powerful 4-letter word. Love. And that is what God wants to come out of you, and that's what he told the people that at one time lived on Venus. They call it the law of one, but that's another subject. But for those of us who live on planet Earth, it's the Holy Bible. And it wasn't given to the Jews. They do not own the Bible. It was given to a Babylonian first. Terah and Abram, who God changed his name to Abraham later on. He and Sarah had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob, and Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So God did not come to Israel first. He came to his great-grandparents first. Anyway, I'll finish this at another time. Sorry, but I have to pause it for right now.